want to start with you, Lone. You are the vice chair of the board of Volvo. And we all think of Volvo as a company that is sort of on the forefront of safety. And these days, automakers are sort of on the forefront of moving forward when it comes to climate change. How much of that these days is because governments, both here in the US and in Europe, are pushing automakers, or do you think this is coming from automakers themselves?
It's a very interesting question. I had debates this week with other CEOs, and right now it seems like we are pushing from the company's side. So there is a new legislation coming on in 26, and we have to move all the non-financial items into the financial accounts and sign it from the board of directors. But we are ahead in the thinking of what you can do with materials and with concepts.
And is this something that was discussed at the board level and comes from the board level, or is it leaders within a company itself?
It's both. So this is naturally the decision some years ago in Volvo Cars. We moved from heavily into support EV agenda, and very soon we'll only be producing EV cars. So that is something both inspired that when we listed the company, we wanted to articulate this very clearly. This is what we sell to the shareholders. And it was a debate, strategic debates between the board and the management. And we took some very harsh decision and sold out of the non-EV part of our production.
And Brian, you are involved in helping these companies move forward with regard to ESG, environmental, social, and governance issues by having a platform that lets them look through it. You work with, it's 75% of Fortune 500, 85% of the FTSE 100, and 85% of the ASX 200. So this is clearly a global issue.
Yeah, it's clearly a global issue and a global opportunity. I think the question of whether it comes more from the board or comes from management, we do see so much of it coming from management in particular. And whether it's the demands or the push of your investors, or it's what your employees are looking for, or what your customers are looking for, so many of our clients out there are charting ahead with their own sustainability programs in future and making it broader than just sustainability, including other elements of ESG. And so it is a hot button topic, and for better or for worse, the way a lot of board members assess different types of risk, they would say ESG and ESG risk is one of those. It also represents an opportunity for a lot of companies as well.
It is a hot button topic. You bring that up. Obviously, one of the biggest examples these days is Disney in Florida and the battle between Florida's governor and the company over ESG issues. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis actually sort of making an anti-woke agenda part of his platform. How hard is it for companies now when, on the one hand, you're getting some investors, you're getting stakeholders like your own employees pushing you on these ESG issues, and on the other hand, you're getting political backlash more and more as well?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, you can see in Florida and you can see in other states within the U.S. A bit of the pushback that's actually ultimately happening. I think for most of our clients and most of the companies out there, companies have to stay true to their own values and who they are as an organization and what they believe in. We as a company believe that disclosure, sharing information, documenting what your carbon footprint is, how diverse your workforce is good for business. It's good for your team. What you do from there, what goals you set, how much you chest thump versus stay true to kind of your customers, your products, and your mission, that's entirely up to each company. But we think the best practice is to start out and at least disclose what issues like your carbon footprint looks like, so then you can go and scale from there. Your investors may choose to invest in companies who have more aggressive targets for sustainability, and they may choose to invest in companies that are more focused on other areas of growth and development. But we do believe that ultimately that level of disclosure disclosure and transparency creates an environment for employees, investors, and your customers to make their own choices.
Lone, you not only serve on the board of Volvo, but also very well-known Swedish brand IKEA, and you're an advisor to ServiceNow. So I wonder, how different is it trying to advise these companies in very disparate fields on how to move forward? Does it mean something different for IKEA than for ServiceNow?
I think it means something different for all companies depending on what their product is, but the general agenda is the same. And all have to be supported by system. I really think this is, when we're looking at companies, Volvo will soon, in a few years, reach its 100th anniversary. It's very few companies now who even reach on the Fortune 500 their 18th year's anniversary. So it's really interesting to watch out and see what are the ingredients for a company to be sustainable in that other kind of manner. And I think the new battle is all about data. So knowing your data, have access to your data, be able to deal with your data, and then to be transparent, but also to have immutable data. So I see a big trend that everybody are cleaning up in their data, are preparing with artificial intelligence, with their data lakes. It's not an easy task when you have to move into your first layer of suppliers, second, third layers of suppliers, and make sure that what you provide and package into your product is really sustainable. And I see that is the same trend I see in all companies. ServiceNow is a good example where you have a platform where you can easily come to market with framing it in, the same in Concordium, where I launched the blockchain, where you have a decentralized, immutable data, which I also think for some of this is quite important, that at the end of the day, the customer can trust. This is immutable. This is really how it is. I can see through all the data and know that the product is as it's promised to be. So this is a new trend. It's really data. Those who are able to understand their data and work with their data will win this battle.
One of the things that we're talking about these days in terms of data is how you use it in terms of iterative AI. There's a lot of concern. I cover healthcare, and the promise sounds great, but at the same time, people are worried about, well, am I really going to have, GPT-4 actually being the one that diagnoses me rather than a doctor? And how safe and how secure is that data that gets generated from that AI? I don't think we're anywhere near that in healthcare, but it's one of the questions that people ask. And I think it's one of the questions people are thinking about in all sorts of industries. Brian, is this something that boards are wrestling with right now, how to make sure that they use this tool equitably?
Yeah, I think building off the last point, I think data is incredibly important to boards and to companies and how they operate. On the AI side of things, AI has turned out to be one of the top or most frequently asked questions across our board member users over the course of the last, call it, 3 to 6 months. What should we be doing about it? How ethical is it? What opportunities does it have? Does it create areas for disruption? I think it's a big area that many organizations, whether it's healthcare, as you noted, whether it's technology like us, across many industries, has a major impact. The other thing I want to build on from a data perspective is I think from a sustainability and data and disclosure of data, we're also creating a massive increase in complexity for companies who are now required to disclose a whole broader set of information they've ever had to disclose before, which puts increasing pressure on CFOs, IR, et cetera. I think data, and whether it's for AI or disclosure or increasing the amount of information you share from investors, I think we're in an environment where that will only continue to grow exponentially.